So, good afternoon, dear Africans, dear Pan-Africans, dear Africans worldwide. Welcome to this second day on the Magulification Week. I want to thank all of you joining the streams on our multiple platforms. Today we have King Bishop Maponga Joshua Marara III, who is going to deliver a sermon on this Magulification Week. I want to thank you again for all your support. Africans are getting there. The whole world is mourning our messenger who came, delivered a message, and left. I want to thank all the condolence messages that you've been pouring in to the family, to the people of Tanzania, to the government of Tanzania, and particularly to Africans supporting each other in these difficult times. Yes, we are here on this second day, and we're going to listen to our messenger, the watcher, who is going to interpret the works and the journey and the purpose of his mission to us on earth. King Bishop Maponga Joshua, we welcome you, King, tonight and today. For all of you that are watching on our YouTube platform, we want to apologize for yesterday. It was not possible to connect to you, but this morning you're watching us from America and the Caribbean and all over Europe where you are. Please, we are going to keep this week on the issue of Tanzania. We're going to pay respect and commemoration to our great leader, to a statesman, to a son, to a leader, to a father, to the most chosen one for Africa, who came, did his work, and left. So I want to thank all of you for joining. We are streaming live on King Maponga Joshua Space. As you can see, we're also streaming live on the PLO Lumumba page. We're also streaming live from our multiple platforms. So if you're joining any of these platforms, please make sure you click the link and invite our brothers and sisters to join us. So without taking much of our time, I'm going to welcome King Bishop Maponga on the panel, and yes, give him the floor to deliver this sermon, the service, and this message, what he has for the world, particularly for you Africans. But before I give him over, I want to also extend our congratulations to Her Excellency Samia Suluhu, who was sworn in yesterday as the president officially of the United Republic of Tanzania. Yes, so we congratulate you, Madam. We congratulate you, Her Excellency. And we know that this legacy that you've taken, you've been in it and you are on it, all our support, all our morals are also with you, and even our condolences in this time are with you. We also want to support each and everyone that is sharing, particularly also the continent and the leaders on the continent. We want to also send our condolences to you for losing this precious son of Africa. So over to us now in the studio as we listen to King Bishop Maponga Joshua. Good evening, my king. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Good afternoon to you, and good morning, good evening to everyone else around the world, wherever you are watching us from. Indeed, Africa is in a season of mourning. You always wonder sometimes in life why the useful people seem not to live long, and the useless ones seem to have a longer life. At this particular age and era of our African history, honestly speaking, there are a number of other presidents on the continent. If we had a choice to choose as a continent as to who must go, I think we would not agree that Magufuli should go. But it is with sadness that we hear of his passing. And unfortunately, some of the media houses around the world would want to glorify themselves over the pandemic issue. But the medical history and reports that we have heard so far from high officials in the country is that of a heart problem that he has been struggling with for the longest of time.
Thank you.
We don't want to glorify the propaganda machine that would seem to underplay and the legitimacy of his short life that he has lived, but with a great impact that he has left on the African continent. Now, the other day when I was sitting around and thinking to myself on our African totems, our African heritage that attaches and aligns us to the monkeys, for example, to the lions, to the buffaloes, and the other animals that are in the field. You will notice that there is humanity that animals practice. I have happened to have lived in a country like Zimbabwe, where game was still freely roaming amongst us. We grew up going hunting for animals, live animals, and so I have a little bit of that experience. When elephants find the bones of a dead elephant, no matter how busy they are or where they were going, they stop around the bones. They sniff the bones, and actually they wail. They do a funeral. And remember, elephants use a path towards water and grass, which they've been walking on these paths for centuries of years. So most likely all these animals that die, they die along the path, along this route. And every time, every year, when they come past this place where this animal has died, they would stop there for some moments and do the mourning. It's not only elephants who do that. Giraffes also do that. Buffaloes also do that. Even cattle also do that, to stop and mourn. Now, when you look at that understanding what nature and animals can do, it is of a great shame that as Africans, when one of our own has died, that we could have so much negative scorns and negative words coming out of the mouths of fellow Africans who have been captured by the system and are now also part of the machinery that continuously propagates and sharing the message of the colonization of the African people on a fast track. It's unfortunate that animals do better. Animals cry better. Animals love better. Maybe what I should need to do is to ask the continent, have we lost our humanness to this concept of civilization? And knowing very well that Magufuli was a man who believed in the Bible, who believed in God, in his own right, and he publicly went on to say, our God will defend us. It is with that respect that I would quote a biblical verse on which I would like to extrapolate and explain some principles around the passing away and the character of Magufuli and lessons that we can take home with us as African people. And I think one of the greatest dangers and problems that we have had to suffer as Africans, it is to eat the bread and eat the plastic also. And we forget to remove the plastic, which is the packaging, so that we can look at the contents of what we are supposed to be eating. Whether it be technology, remove the plastic. Whether it is fashion, remove the plastic. Whether it is entertainment, remove the plastic. Even if it is religion, remove the plastic so that you begin to deal with the essence of the core substance of what you are dealing with. Because now we have learned that if we don't know and we don't quickly remove the plastic, what we might end up practicing, and we call it Christianity or Islam, it becomes Arabic culture and it becomes European culture. This interprets itself in our music, in our fashion, in our method of worship, and etc., etc. So when you read the book of Genesis, for example, and it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's not about God only that is in heaven, which is a spiritual conversation. But the question you need to ask yourself is, where is my heaven? How do I create my heaven? How do I create my earth? And what do I populate my heaven and my earth with? What sort of lights? He said, let there be light. Then you ask yourself as Africans, what sort of light have we kept in our skies? Who are the people who are shining on our paths? Who are the role models that are in the skies of the African people? So that when you read the text on this side, that God said, let there be light, you need to translate that passage to yourself and say, where are my lights? Who are my role models? Who are the people that are shining in front of me so that I can see the path where I am going? When you hear that plants were planted, what have you planted a tree? You people want to rush and become Christian. But the passage says, and he planted trees. So ask yourself, have you ever planted a tree? Have you planted grass? Have you planted vegetation? And he says, eat these things. They are good for your health and for your healing. The question is, are you eating herbs? Are you eating trees and plants so that you can be healthy? By the time you finish reading that passage, that there is rest after works and labor. What sort of programs do you do for yourself so that you can recuperate your strength? I'm just giving you one example from the biblical text before I can pick up another passage. So even if you can say Moses was given the 10 commandments, the question is, what commandments have we been given as African people? If you say, Jesus walked on the water, have we tried to do what is impossible in our era? When you hear that he broke the bread and 5,000 people were fed, when you are a leader, are you able to take your bread and share it with the 5,000 that are around you? Or you take your bread and eat it by yourself? When you hear that Jesus was crucified on the cross, ask yourself, on which cross am I going to die? And who will crucify me to die for what I believe? Therefore, you begin to look at, when you are reading the text, you remove the colonial plastic that seeks to drum you down. You're a sinner. God will burn you and you go to hell and what and what and what. Now give me some money because I've told you that you're going to hell. And if you don't give me money, you will go to hell. And people give their offerings because they are scared of hell. But I fear and I tremble that Africans, we have undermined our capacity to think and develop critical minds, so that when you look at wisdom literature, not only the Bible, even the Quran itself, even other writings, the Umdayats, the epics of Gilgamesh, you can read about the books of the dead, books of Enoch, and other books that forefathers and grandfathers and other spiritual guides have been here to write these words. If you read carefully in those words, you will find that there is wisdom. that is given in those passages. Wisdom of societal construction, wisdom of life itself, marital guidance, children upbringing, seasons of planting and seasons of harvesting, methods of gratitude and faithfulness, so that life on earth, we don't live in a vacuum, but we use the ancient roots as fertilizer and manure on the roots of our civilization, so that we can begin to grow from there. To celebrate the life of Magufuli, therefore, I will pick up a passage found in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verses 1 up to verses 22, 24. I don't have time to go through all of those passages. And Ezekiel says, I was standing with the captives by the river Kiba. A good leader is the one who sits with his people. A good leader is the one who moves away from his palace, from his parliament, and moves away from his expensive lifestyle and goes down where the other slaves, the other prisoners are by the river Kiba. And it says, while I was there, I heard and I felt the hand of the Lord was upon me. It's only when you are with your people that true spirituality will come to you, and guidance of how to lead your people will be found when you are in conversations with your people. Therefore, the African leader cannot lead from the echelons of comfort, but he needs to come down to the ground, come down to the floor, come down to the rivers, come down to the servants and the slaves, and feel what they feel, cry their tears. It's a shame on African leaders who come to see us only when they want votes. And after they've received the votes, that is the last time you're going to see them, as they disappear into their motorcades and eating their caviars in Paris and taking pictures at the United Nations conferences. End of story. And while he heard and while he felt the hand of the Lord upon him, and he says, I saw the Lord. I saw a chair, high and lifted up. Power has to do with a chair, authority. Remember, when you are sitting on the chair, that you are not the chair. I want to emphasize that, very important. When you are sitting on a chair, you are not the chair. You are sitting on a chair. What does that mean, therefore? Always remember that positions of authority, they don't define you. When we respect you, we are respecting the chair that you are sitting on. And many of our African leaders, they become the chair. They forget that they are the ones who are sitting on the chair. Their offices and their appetite of power clouds their mind to an extent that them and the chair become inseparable. You cannot remove them from the chair. They will kill you. Because once they are on the chair, it defines them. It becomes an extension of themselves. So he says, I saw a man sitting on a chair. And only Africans can read Ezekiel chapter 1, by the way. White people can't read that passage and understand it because they don't even understand the epistemology of the biblical text itself. There was a chair that had the face of a lion, the face of an ox, the face of an eagle, and the face of a man. So if you look at your chair, the four legs that are there are punctuated by the four creatures that are there. That of a lion, that of an eagle, that of an ox, and that of a man. And the one that had the face of a lion also had the other three faces, saw the face of an ox and the face of an eagle. In other words, on every pillar, the dominant one would be the lion, but on the other four sides of the same, you had a duplication of the other four, so that each chair in each direction was equally equipped with four pillars where it stood. By the time you go further down, as you'll understand, when I get excited, it says, therefore, wherever the chair moved, it did not need to turn. It kept on moving because the wheels were interceding the wheels. Some of the great scholars and scientists actually want to describe this as a UFO because it's a chair that is wheels, that is animals, that is whatever. But that's a conversation for another day. I want us to pick up on the 4 animals. Number 1, the face of a lion. Every African man needs to learn the value of territory, dominion, and power. Use your urine to mark territory. Use your sperm to reproduce. Without territory, it is illegal to produce any children. Lions are dominant. Lions are powerful. Lions have a clear way of knowing how far and where they are working. And Africans, we need to define our territory. As Africans, Europeans have done that. Chinese have done that. Everybody else has defined their territory, except the African, whose territory is in heaven. His territory is with Jesus, somewhere in the clouds where no one has gone there to come back to tell us what's happening there. While we are on earth, define your territory as a continent. And when we talk about defining our territory, we are breaking away the norms of small, little localized political national politics. I'm Zambian, I'm Cameroonian, I'm Somalian, I'm Ethiopian, I'm South African. We are looking at the African territory, not the Cameroonian territory. So we need to have the spirit of lions so that we define our dominion over our territories. And take note, in the midst of that, we need to protect our women and our children and our vulnerable. Lions live in families, live in families. We need to learn the power of a lion, but be harmless to the children and your wife. Take note, a whole lion can break a zebra, can break a buffalo with its teeth. But when the little ones are trapped in the holes, the same teeth would grab the small little cub in its teeth and move it to a safe place without even breaking one hair on the back of that small little animal. But gentleness. Gentleness does not mean weakness. And we needed to start building Africans who are not just violent, but who are violently gentle. Fight with the enemy, the hyenas. Fight with other creatures that threaten your existence. But when it comes to your family, be as gentle as possible. The face of an eagle speaks to vision. 3 kilometers into the sky, an eagle can see a fish dancing in the water and focuses its eyes, studies the movement of the fish. By the time he stops and points his beak down, bends his wings, he does not miss his target to come and pick up what he has seen. Now, that's vision. We need African leaders who have faces of eagles, who can stand at a distance and look ahead and be able to see what is the plan, what is coming, what will be happening. Unfortunately, many of our leaders cannot even see the edges of their own nose. They can't even see the agenda. They can't even see the politics. They cannot even understand the economics. They don't even know what the stock exchange is all about. And yet they talk about being in leadership. How do you lead when you're blind and you can't see? Hence, on your chair, you need the face of an eagle so that you can have vision. Not only vision. Eagles are the only animals that know how to arise above a storm and dance in the openness above the storms. You need leadership that moves beyond controversy and conflict. Eagles giggle in the storm and can fly against the storm because they were built for that. We need leaders that are not afraid of conflict, but they can maneuver their way in the midst of conflict and find resolutions beyond the dark clouds of the storm. Number 3, the face of an ox speaks to discipline. I grew up farming. The old disciplined ox walks on the right, the younger one on the left, and the old one will walk in the furrow and help you to harvest quickly. Why? Because it is disciplined. It might not have the strength of the young, but it is the discipline of the old one. And many of us fail in life, not because we don't have strength, but we lack discipline. to stay with something, to drive it, and make sure it is achievable, and to harness and to tame the young ones so that they can be able to work together with us. If we are not careful, the colonial system is building war between the young people and the old ones. When they look at us, they say, these old people don't understand. When the young people come into power, they understand everything, but they know nothing. They neither have an understanding of their history. They don't know where the pillars of the house are. They don't know where the keys of the house are. They don't know when the seasons are changing. They don't know when the storm is coming. And they want to become leaders. So good leadership has to do with yoking the old people and the young people so that we learn together. Young girls cannot rule themselves. Sit with the old women. They will tell you how to look after your babies, how to do this. When a child is constipated, this is what you do. You rub here, you knock over here, you do this, and this happens. That information is not found in the young people. It is found in the old people, and that is the discipline of the ox. So the face of a lion for territory, the face of an eagle for vision, the face of an ox for discipline, and finally the face of a human being speaks to wisdom, constantly learning, understanding of all the animals in the field. The human being is the best of them all because he can read, he can see, he can think, he can plan, he can implement. And therefore, when you look at this big chair that we are given, it's a well-balanced chair that is clear on territorial issues, clear on vision, clear on discipline, clear on wisdom. African leadership needed a combination of those four pillars. So next time as a leader, when you're sitting on a chair, remember there are four legs that are holding your chair on which you are sitting. Now enjoy the last part. When the chair wants to go south, it does not turn. Because while it is facing south, it is equipped with vision. It's equipped with knowledge. It's equipped with discipline. It's equipped with territory. When we are doing business with the East, the Chinese, we are equipped with wisdom, equipped with territorial issues, equipped with discipline, equipped with vision.
Wow.
Same when dealing with the North and when we are dealing with the West. This then becomes the movement of the chair. This becomes the movement of power so that our function is not limited to local ideologies and we ignore the global space in which we are functioning and operating in. And I think in my own few words, Dr. Magufuli demonstrated those four pillars with no fail. He had a clear vision of where he wants Africa to go. Hence, we talk about the Magufulization of Africa. That's vision. He was not stupid. He was wise. Bring me the test kits. Let's test them on the bananas, on the goats, and on the oranges. And let's see if these tests are going to come out positive or negative. Now, a fool cannot do that. Now, that man who does that, he is wise. Let us not only accept vaccines from the West, let us all work together with Madagascar so that we can find our own solutions as African people. I don't think that man is a fool who does that. A man who does that is wise. So he had the vision. The eagle was in him. He had the wisdom. The man was in him. He was clear on territory, not here in Tanzania. And if all African leaders can say, not here, not here, not here, we may begin to have a conversation around our clear territory as African people. And if there's anything else that I appreciate about Magufuli, his great sense of discipline. Fired all the other ministries that are dysfunctional. Get only a few embassies that are working and they're productive. Stop flying around in cars. Use one car as government officials, and etc. And you notice that he actually did some of the most drastic measures where African leaders right now, when they get to office, they multiply the budgets. But Magufuli was disciplined. And if there's any four things I want to leave with you, all Africans, develop a good sense of discipline. Clear your eyes so that you can see. Have wisdom. Develop your thinking so that you can think. And ultimately, be clear of the territory at which you are functioning so that you can leave your inheritance to your children. Unfortunately, our African leaders, when they die, they would have left us in the hands of those people that they owe money to, for they are selling the future to enjoy the present. With those few words, I want to say, long live the spirit of Magufuli, long live. We have lost a president, yes, indeed. We have gained an ancestor. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my king. Thank you very much. For all those who have ears, I think we've heard there's nothing that could have opened this week of Magulification without you opening our minds. You said something that was very important in the beginning. And please, I would just beg you for those that join us late. And I want to thank the more than 1,000 people that are watching from all our platforms. Exactly, this is the spirit, not just the spirit, but the message. Now, as a messenger and a watcher, how can this be? I mean, we find in this period of mourning, a lot of Africans just deep into this fear of, oh, he must have been killed. Oh, they did it to Patrice Lumumba. They did it. They would do it. They've done it to him. They've done it to Sankara. They've done it to Muammar Gaddafi. They've done it to. But you said something. Don't glorify them. Don't give them that honor. Don't promote these narratives. He came as a messenger. He delivered, and he is gone. What is his message for you Africans? Can you please just really educate us on that again, so we stay focused, so we know it is a learning point of what he came, he taught us, and we should be busy doing that, not busy thinking whether he was killed or what. And like you said, he joined our ancestors. So if our ancestors did not agree, so definitely nobody can kill you African if they don't accept. So please, I just want to, like the watcher, to clarify our young audience and thousands of people watching you now, because this message is so important for the future. What is it that we should focus now on? Instead of sharing on social media, oh, the imperialists and this and this and this, we all know that. But what happened? What should we learn? What should we be focusing doing now?
Thank you very much. And I think you said quite a mouthful also right there. By no means do we undermine the capacity of the enemy to destroy us. And by no means do we undermine their influence in terms of infiltrating our midst, and you end up with your own brother and sister being an enemy to you. Mm-hmm. You are not killed from anywhere, but from your own household and from those that are close to you. But I received information as of this afternoon of the young Magufuli when he was still studying, and the heart problem that he had then. And there was a fundraising project to assist him. So from as early as his university days, apparently there is medical reports that are coming out slowly to the effect that he had a heart problem, and which could have been the cause of his death. We say so with the information that we're receiving from the official government spaces. If there is any other information that will come up in the future, I think we'll always come back and have a conversation around that. But I like what you're saying, that we cannot glorify the enemy for infiltrating our midst and giving us a wrong perception. And I think if there is anything we need to be aware of, these are the things we've been saying for the longest of time, Dr. Tata. Eat well, drink well, sleep well, look after your health, and etc. Because these are the avenues through which sicknesses, diseases, and death are coming into our bodies and into our lives. Look on your table tonight when you eat. What are you eating? What are you drinking? And life, therefore, is equally dependent on the things that we're consuming. So what do we do? If we are to learn anything, let us learn to become organic, to become truthful. I think if Magufuli will be remembered for the longest of time, one statement will stand up true, that let us find African solutions to deal with African problems. So I think his message is clear. We need to get down to work. Educators, get down to work. Pharmaceutical companies and our fellow brothers and sisters, medical doctors and etc., stop tweeting and making noise. Get down to work. Find solutions for the problems that we are talking about are real problems. And the passing away of Magufuli tells us that we don't have the luxury of watching a man. I mean, even myself, even yourself, Dr. Tata, there's a day that is coming when this will be in the archives of history after we've done our part and we've gone. But right now, when one is still alive and I'm still breathing, instead of asking me questions, you'd rather spend all your typing skills fighting and throwing insults and etc. And one day when I'm gone, you want to look like you're crying and you're disturbed. If there is anything we can learn from the passing away of Magufuli, let us maximize on the time we have with each other while we still can. Had they allowed Magufuli to become the chairman of the Africa Union, had they allowed Magufuli to become the portfolio committee on the pharmaceutical companies of Africa Union, had they allowed Magufuli to become the secretary of security on the Africa Union, I mean, look at the impact he would have made within such a short space of time. But now in retrospect, when we look back, it almost makes me feel sad because it looks like the weak leaders are the ones who live long.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my king. Another question before I open up the lines to take your calls. Oliver, we saw he was a pharmacist. I mean, not just a leader, because a lot of people didn't even know. I mean, even speaking around the interviews we've been conducting since last night, some Africans still just don't even know him. Now, what is it that we should be learning about our leadership? Because you talked about know your territory. You are sitting here, King Joshua Maponga. Hi, today, if no one knows you ain't, write your name. It is our fault, like you said. So we don't wait until something would happen to you and then we start posting because we just see other posting and then we take and post so that people follow. Now, what I still insist on this, Africans, what is it that from this death, from this passing away, from this message, we should know in terms of education, just knowing who our leaders are? This history, not history, but this education, this university right now that we are in, that you are telling us, Magufuli, shouldn't it be that all the children worldwide, particularly Africans, should know his name?
And this is the beautiful and yet the saddest part, that history is written right in our eyes, and people are fast asleep when it is happening. The passing away of Magufuli is history. And if Africans were serious in terms of collecting their own narrative, writing their own history, and this is his story, not just history, his story, together with many others that have gone past. The Queen Nefertiti's, for example, the Queen Zingas, for example, the Queen Shibas, the Queen Nandis. There is enough history that lies within the land of Africa. The question I have, will this information ever make its way to the classroom? There's enough African medicines that are lying around. Question, will these medicines ever make their way to the pharmaceutical tables? There's enough technology in Africa, enough technology. We started making whiskey here way before America and Britain knew what whiskey looked like. Cooking our mealies and etc., putting a pipe, distillation, fractional distillation with cooling pipes and everything else. Our grandmothers are still doing it in the village. There's enough technology that is sitting around here, organic and original. But question, Will this knowledge and information ever make its ways into the mainstream? Look at your dress, beautiful as it is. Those skills to make this look the way it's looking. You give this to an old woman in Maasai, she will do this design with her eyes closed. Will this information ever make its way into mainstream education systems? We have enough of African games that we play on the African continent, from throwing ladies, throwing stones in the air, men jumping between boxes, and enough of those games. Will those games ever have world championships? Or only thing we're watching is rugby and soccer and tennis? So again, the onus is on us. How do we begin to harvest our indigenous knowledge systems, package them properly, and place them within the mainstream reach so that the next generation does not need to duplicate the foolishness of our generation?
Thank you very much. Exactly what you're saying. Exactly, that's the point that I want us to focus is. His Excellency Magufuli, yesterday when we opened up the start of this week for morning, Africans worldwide were calling in, and they were like, particularly Tanzanians that were testifying that he was the president for the poor. That's why he had to get into this financial cutoff, downsizing to meet up with the poor. But one thing that we know, and one thing that I gathered from all this, the people that we're calling were the poor people who said, we have lost our president. He's just gone. No one will remember us. Now, the power of the poor that it redefined the status quo of who an African is. Does it make a lot of sense?
And again, the difference is a president for the rich and a president for the poor are different. Because yes, the president of the rich are only 2 to 3%, 5% in some certain countries of the whole population of that country. The rest are poor. So if you are called the president of the poor, it actually means that you have the masses in your hands. Many of our presidents right now on the face of Africa are just rubber stamps to round tables where they spend all their times in gardens talking to fellow rich men, whether they are local or international, making more money and how to enslave people a little bit more. Hence my beginning of the study on Ezekiel, when I said Ezekiel found himself with the slaves, the poor people, by the river Kiba. And every leader must walk down and walk away from his palace and go and put their hand on the pulse of the nation to understand when a child is crying in the village, what are they crying for? If you find a man bleeding in the village, what has hurt him? If you find an old woman wailing next to a rock, what has caused that? So that when you have the government instruments in your hands, you can be a source of solutions to delivering some of those. Africans, we don't want as much as people think we want. Sometimes it's just a road, a simple road, so that we can move our goods from point A to point B. In some certain cases, it is just a small little bore so that we can get our water and we can drink clean water instead of drinking sewage water. The requirements are not as extensive, but when a leader will even eat the health and the wealth of his own people to enrich himself, I say shame on such leaders. They don't deserve to be called Africans, and their appetite of Eurocentric goods has destroyed their ethical and moral accountability to the common people. So yes, a good leader is measured by the amount of poor people who love them, not the amount of rich people who clap hands for him. And they don't clap hands for you because they like you. They clap hands for you because they want to have a deal with you. Tomorrow morning, they'll be on your desk. So it's not true. It's not true that they really love you. They love you because of the business that you are doing together.
When a king or a messenger disappears like this, I mean, like we are still talking about a united One Africa agenda. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah passed on this agenda. Marcus Garvey, Doctor, passed on this agenda. All the leaders, Thomas Sankara, all of them passed on because of this agenda. So what is stopping us? What is actually stopping us? So should a Maponga Joshua go? Then we start talking. Now it's time for us to unite. What is this that you can advise us that is holding us back? Even with this example, why is Africa just not shut down now for this 1 week if we really wanted that unity? I'm so grateful that thousands are watching us and you are the ones to make the unity work. Is it because we focus on some 2% that we think will unite us, or we have to pick it up where you are living, you're lecturing us and say we are uniting and there is nothing anyone can do about it? My king.
Very important issues you are raising there. I would not find something better to share with you but an agricultural illustration that if we are going to be eating fruits from this tree, the question is, have we planted the tree? Have we watered the tree? Is it the season where this tree will bear fruits? How many years will it take for this tree to grow and the results be visible? And for me, these are critical questions because they speak to planning, they speak to strategy, they speak to network. But right now, our main problem and the biggest problem is leadership. Our leadership is divided amongst itself because no one wants to share power with the other. So it is a selfish leadership that basically looks at me as the president of Chad, me as the president of Botswana, me as the president of Zambia. How can I give away my power? We are not saying give away your power. Just unite as Africans, African leaders, create a common financial market, create one passport. We can still have our territories as leaders, but allow the greater movement of the African children and business to happen beyond the local common boundaries right now, which are restrictive to us. Otherwise, we're going to be dying one by one. As I said on one of your shows, as long as we are fighting the West, the East, and the North as individual countries, we neither have the financial muscle or the military power or the economic muscle to challenge those countries. A country like China with 1.6 billion people, if they want to come and take over Botswana, which is less than 900,000 people, what kind of muscle are you looking at? How much of you can fight with how many of them? But our greatest comfort as Africa is if we can learn to unite as a continent. And this unification must start with education. From cradle, we need an African curriculum of education translated in all creche and primary schools. Our children must learn reciting and writing poems about Magufulis, writing poems about Sinkaras and etc. And so that the plant grows from its infancy. And while it is growing from the bottom side, we, the average and mature people, are beginning to challenge the infrastructures and governance systems. And then our older people are our libraries. At the end of another 10, 15 years, we could begin to look at a different narrative, different entertainment, and a different breed of children. I'm sorry to say, some of us who are educated are the biggest, weakest link on the unification of Africa because we have swapped the poison of colonial education. We are a problem to ourselves as Africans, particularly the educated ones, because everyone is got an opinion, and his opinion is always better than the other opinion. So we sit around as Africans and we try to outsmart each other. We try to show, I'm from Oxford, yes, I'm from Harvard, and you, and I'm from Zimbabwe, and we start comparing degrees. I wish we were comparing factories. I wish you were comparing productions. I wish you were comparing products and say, this is what I have produced, this is what I have produced. Unfortunately, our education system only ends up with a small little certificate on the wall, and it never meaningfully translates itself into the solutions that the community is looking for. Educate, educate, educate each other. Each one, educate one.
Whew. My king, Bishop Maponga Joshua Marara III of Zimbabwe is addressing Africans worldwide on the Magulification Week. What is it that you as Africans have learned? I see your thousands comments of saying this is the leader that we need for an African continent. Now I throw it back to you, King. Now the world just collapsed borders, pandemic, corona. And now we're all on a digital platform, something that we could not be watching now 1K plus on a different platform. So this is the power of collapsing. I'm not saying this is, can we translate this? Like you just educated us for a couple of 45 minutes, 1 hour. No kind of education would reach this number of people, even in a year. How can we use the space and platform and start teaching even today that you're doing?
We are already doing it, my honorable doctor. You're already doing an outstanding work. Never undermine what you're doing. And deliberately, when I'm talking about the seasons and understanding crops and grounds and when to plant and when to harvest, I'm aware that right now it may look like we have less impact in what we have achieved, but the fact that the conversation is already taking place speaks to the ability and the maximization and utilization of the platforms which have been made available to us. Education therefore becomes continuous, and it becomes intentional, so that we begin to teach each other critically on the issues as Africans that we think we need to know about ourselves and about each other. There is nothing that stops us from having continuous lessons around these subjects that you are talking about, sharing the platforms. I'm glad the other day you were doing arts festival exchanges and etc. We can do fashion, we can do food exchange programs, imports and exports, so that there's no limit to the environment. And again, our greatest center of support are the people. I'm very excited the other day, right here in Johannesburg, when children, last week actually, when children were looking for money to register in the universities and they were being refused entry into the university. One of the young boys there, with his friend, they picked up an idea of fundraising for school fees registration. And within 1 week, he managed to raise about 1 million rand, which they've used directly to assist students to register. That speaks of initiative. That speaks of, and hence we may sound like a broken record. We'll always come back here again and say, as Africans, if we can just put $1, 30 cents, 50 cents towards Dr. Tata or towards Arikana or towards Maponga or towards Lumumba, or better still, if all those leaders can come together and have a united space where the African community can begin to contribute, then our conversation will take a totally different turn, because there will not only be speeches, but now they're accompanied with productive, meaningful projects that are transforming the community. So again, the power to do that, the power to transform, is in our hands. But I'm not sad and I'm not disappointed, because I know the season we are in right now is the season of education.
Yes.
You will not make good decisions without correct education. So even right now, we are in the business of educating each other, teaching each other. And by the time we're all educated and we are reading from the same book, we can begin to have similar outcome-based projects that can transform our continent. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my king. I'll just open up the lines if there's some direct questions for you, but if you have to leave, we know that you have made it on this first day, the sermon on Magufuli, his legacies and testimonials, and people, top leaders, just like King Bishop Maponga, that would be coming here the whole of this week to tell us exactly what is the way forward. We appreciate you. We thank you so very much for being here. The lines are open for all of you watching me. If you want to call in, direct a question to King Bishop Maponga, he is right here for a couple of minutes again to take your questions directly into answer to you. But please keep it short. Keep it really short, as we know that time is money even though we Africans have all the time. We'll be ending up this program for now, and we would be planning who is going to be with us tomorrow. I'm looking out to get Dr. Arikana live here on this legacy. We're looking out, Professor PLO has signed in, a couple of them are signing all around the world to share this space with us. Be aware, this is the time that we're going to do it. You watching us on the YouTube channels, I know it has been a switch, yes, but reaching the majority on the continent that actually put in their data to watch us live, we have to give that honor. And particularly the leader passed away on the continent. I know how difficult it is for us to switch times, but we have to do it. Like our king just said, we have to know the seasons. What seasons are we? Are we a stagnant kind of people, or we are flexible? So we move with the event, we move with the seasons. That is who we are. That is our spirituality. You want to ask a direct question, call +49 1578 211 2379. WhatsApp only. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening. Welcome. Oh, good afternoon. I don't know from where you're calling from.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. King Bishop Maponga is also there. He's hearing you. Go ahead. Oh, all right. I think we lost him. Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of congestion, and they are already, like I said, please use the WhatsApp number. Just connect on WhatsApp or Signal or whatever devices you're using. Don't call directly. It's going to cut or switch off the orders. Or better still, you can also drop your questions if you have one directly, or you just want to share a condolence to the people of Tanzania and to Africans generally. Call in live now. Hello. Yes.
Hi, Susan. How you doing, sister?
Fine, thank you, brother. As you can see, we are on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. My name is Daffy. I'm calling from Texas.
Okay.
I want to extend my greeting to the king over there, Maponga. Also, yeah, and it's so sad, you know, what happened to President Magufuli. You know, all of us are really depressed over here right now. You know, I have a couple of friends that are also crying. You know, because he was a symbol of hope for the young people, you know, in Africa and around the world, you know.
Correct.
Just like yesterday, one of my friends was telling me he was a symbol of manhood for the Africans in the 21st century, you know. So we just pray everything gonna be okay for the people of Tanzania and for the Africans as a whole, you know. What is a legend never die, you know. He never died. He already did his part, you know, he's gone. So I think the next generation gonna take it from where he left it, you know.
Thank you.
So hopefully we can learn from what he did, you know, and try to keep Africa forward.
Thank you very much.
My question for Maponga is like, what's the next step for African youths, you know, and how can we bridge the gap between the African youths and the old generation, you know?
Okay.
So I'm trying to ask, so if you can elaborate on that a little bit.
All right, I will just take the question, note them down, and I give him the floor. He will be responding to them. The first question is, what is the gap? How can we bridge the gap between the young and the old for a better Africa? Thank you for your call. Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome.
Yes, first I must apologize from the noisy background that I'm calling.
It's okay. Go ahead. All right. You see, this is just what I'm saying. Please, you're calling from Sudan. Don't call direct. Call using the WhatsApp number, please. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yes, my sincere gratitude goes to our daddy, Maponga, Samaponga, and that of Daddy Patrice Mulumba. I don't have much to say, but just to say thank you to them for what they are doing for our continent. People like them is the reason why we have hope. And I want to use this medium also to bring to your hearing the likes of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu coming from that part of Biafran region of Nigeria. These people, I must always recommend them and also be of their school of thought.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your call. Thank you. Please, when you call, keep it short because everyone wants to address this, particularly direct questions to King Maponga before he leaves. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello?
Hello, yes, I want to agree. I'm just Yes, hello. My name is Nabil. I am the African diaspora. I live in Europe, so I'm very appreciate my Maponga is your program.
Thank you very much.
So we want to unite this issue. So it's very important. All Africans have same problem in all the continent. So we feel what is talking about Great Maponga, but African not different religion, but all African have the same problem. They all colonized, doing some problem together. So I'm very happy. I'm very appreciated this job. So I want to be a member. So
okay,
I would like to go ahead and do good job. Yes, I wanted to I'm very happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Stay connected on the Pan-African Daily TV. You're going to get all the access and all your questions and how you can support Maponga, how you can support the new leadership of Africa and bring unity to the people of Africa. Hello? Hello? If you call, please make sure you turn off the volume of the daily TV show that you're watching so that we can listen to you. Hello? Hello? Your volume is so low. Please check your volume. We can hear you otherwise.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
My question is like, Bob Marley once said, it's like, how long shall we stand while they keep God perfect, I don't know what happened to the Africans, I'm not going to blame the leaders right now because they are not part of Africans anymore, They got Africans from they pirates, like the Great Zimbabwe, the Congo, the Ghana Empire, the Mali, the Songa, all this Ethiopia. So why can't we learn from foundation from without invoking these people into our system? The European mentality, the Arabs, then look what happened to us.
Okay, so what is your question?
My question, like for Magufuli, you can tell. Like I was reading an article today. I think there's somebody from his cabinet said he was poisoned by a Chinese, with the spite of the Westerns. Now we can see this coming. So why can't us as an African come together and fix things the way Africans are supposed to fix things?
All right. So that's your question. Why can't we? Is that a question?
Fix things. Yeah, that was a question I'm trying to ask Maponga.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Yes, why can't we as Africa come together? I think it still boils down to the same thing that he's been talking about. For those of you that are calling directly, it's impossible for me to pick up your call. I said, use the WhatsApp. It is much easier. I'm very sorry, but that's the only way we can pick your calls. Hello. Hello. I think we go on to answer the other questions. Please, if we didn't pick your call today, we're going to connect tomorrow. So if you have a question, you can bring it on tomorrow, or you send it or share it in the comment section. King Bishop Maponga, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, let me pick this one last call, and then, because he's been struggling from afar. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, my brother. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Isaiah Ogongita from, I'm calling from Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah, my young person are currently admitted in the School of Law, and I just want to give a feedback to Dr. Joshua Marara.
Okay.
That the teachings that we are having, or we are able to hear throughout this program, is really working, and I can assure him that the hope is growing and it's intense. However, I want to share my condolences with our neighbors, the Tanzanians, East Africa, and Africa at large, for losing a great African son that showed us that it is possible without depending on any external help. It is possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Abubakar, calling from Sierra Leone.
All right.
My condolence goes to all Africans for our loss.
Yes.
And my question goes to my noble professor who is in the studio.
Yeah.
And I want to ask a question concerning bridging the gap between the aged and that of
the young.
Yeah, I want to okay, between the aged and that of we the youth that are coming up. And we are supposed to emulate and copy good things from the youth, from the aged. But notwithstanding, we've learned to understand that 90 to 95% of the aged, those who would think are well equipped with things that we emulate, that we move Africa forward, they are corrupt and they are not practicing that good leadership. So how can we have the right information for us as youth in order to move Africa to the next direction?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think even without giving him, he already said it, UCA. He's going to tell us about UCA. That is the way to go. Hello? Hello?
And while you're on that also, it would be important to mention that hyenas are scavengers. They eat everything that is dead on the ground. You know, yet you find that other animals are slightly smarter. They look for fresh meat, and we needed also to learn how to sieve seeds so that you end up with the grain on one side and the chaff goes onto the other side. I'm not saying all old people will be resourceful, but identify those that have value, and let's rally around them and let's support them and change our narrative.
Okay, I'm picking this one so that we would still go, because a lot of people are asking on that, my king. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, how are you there?
As you can see, we're fine. I see you having the king's profile on your call. Go ahead. What is your question? Hello? Yes.
Hello?
We are getting you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I just have to ask a simple question to Pastor Maponga.
Go ahead.
I think many has been said about the unification of Africa, because we have seen all our leaders who are standing against the colonial masters. They are not standing the rest of time. Now the question at hand is, for how long are we going to preach the unification of Africa in order for us
to have one Africa so that we can defend ourselves and stand as one people? That is my question. For how long are we going to do that?
Beautiful. Thank you. This is already the start point. He said it, but I'll be giving him. Hello?
Yes.
The last call, please. Hello? You just call and I'm waiting for you. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you're on.
Yeah, how are you, my dear?
We're fine. And you? We're celebrating the death of a hero. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a question that I want to ask King Maponga, yeah?
Yes.
My question is because I'm so stressed out. Why, you know, the good leaders in Africa, why they don't stay long?
Okay.
I'm a Sierra Leonean, but it's something that I don't know. Why the good people in Africa, they don't stay long?
All right. Thank you for that question. He's right here. He would answer. Okay. I think we've had enough questions for today. Let us continue tomorrow, but let us give the king the chance to answer, because I think these are very useful questions. And most of you are actually just asking the same things that we want to hear. Let us hear from the king.
I think
King
firstly,
yes.
We need to admit that death is sure for all of us. We are not going to be here for eternity. We are all going to die one day. The question is, what do we do between now and our funerals? The second question is, me of the African will not sleep until he achieves his objective. I'll throw the question back at you. Do you have an agenda to preserve each other? Do you have an agenda to support the leadership that you want on the continent? The question is, yes, they are dying early. Maybe the real question should be, how do we make them to live long? How, and hence I'm talking about issues of security, issues of diet, and other things that must come into play, the economic hubs. But basically, at the end of the day, this will stop the day when you, as Africans, both locally, young people and old people in diaspora and on mainland, will come together, and not just as WhatsApp groups, as Facebook statuses, but physically begin to come together meaningfully, so that you can own your own banks, you own your own universities, you own your own hospitals, and you are in diaspora, come back and invest, start small. But we need to start knowing that a journey of 1,000 miles, you start with 1 foot. And we need to start moving in that direction and put our resources where our mouths are. At the end of the day, we're able to preserve that which is important to us. Even if a car is beautiful, if it is underutilized and it is under-maintained, that car will soon also gather rust and will become like a scrap. Leadership, good leadership, if we don't support them. Now Magufuli is gone. How many of our African presidents would bother to learn from his footsteps and implement some? I'm not saying let's implement everything. Mugabe, for example, Kaunda, Nyerere's, Sankara's, Oliver Tambo, the Bikos. The question is, what is it that we can gather from all of them now that you are in leadership? Particularly, this question is pointed at our African presidents. Will you constantly do the same foolish things again and again, pushing your people further and further into poverty? Or will you drastically take the budget of a country and invest it directly into meaningful transformative businesses and educational programs that can cause a change? All it takes. Magufuli the other day ahead, he refused that materials must not leave Tanzania unless their manufacturing industries are on the ground to beneficiate those minerals so as to create jobs and etc. These are small little things, but they are huge because their impact on the economy is quite visible. And with those words, we want to challenge our leaders, both small, young, and old, that we needed to start doing and implementing meaningful projects that transform the society. I thank you.
My king, let me just refer back, or. I mean, if they even say, why do they die young? Let us just take this example, this present day example. The others maybe we might have been reading in history. But if we look at the trajectory and we see His Excellency Magufuli has been for 5 years and he just got another. Isn't 5 years enough time for Africans to listen? I mean, we had a leader that told us the way it is. Did we listen? So maybe, just maybe, we wait for them to grow old and then we start taking the chance. I don't think it's just that they're young. I think they come for a purpose, they deliver and they leave. And all of them are coming into transition and doing the same thing. I don't think meaningful chance or change must take a whole decade. But the little chance, do we Africans actually take into the chance? If not, starting from Bob Marley, from Marcus Garvey, from Nkrumah, from this, what is stopping us, even just normal domestic raw Africans in the continent and this, to unite? Number two, why must we look forward for a leadership that we know that has never done it? Why do we keep trusting and thinking that they will change?
I want to congratulate them. Madame Salam, who has been actually appointed in Tanzania as a new president. You will hear my answer in the midst of that congratulation, because then leadership must be continuity. Leadership must not be coming back to the drawing board again. Every African leader starts from scratch, and before you notice it, 10, 15 leaders later, you are still stomping the same ground. I look at Nelson Mandela, for example, in South Africa. I look at, Mutante. I look at Thabo Mbeki. I look at Jacob Zuma. I look at Ramaphosa. It's 5 presidents later. The one problem that South Africa went to war for, which is land, has not yet been resolved. Every leader who comes in, it's a rewrite, it's a restart. Keep on dancing around the same issue without resolving it. So correct leadership must find out where did the previous leader stop, and then implement the next and implement the next. But in the event people are obsessed with democracy, let's remind them that the Queen has been in power for 65 years and no one is talking. Let's remind them that Chinese government has had the same president forever. No one is talking. Let's remind them that Russia, Putin, is still in power and no one is talking. And let's also remind those that think that America is democracy and remind them that only 5 or 6 families in America are managing the presidential elections. So don't get twisted. Don't get twisted. Those that you think you can emulate, they've been able to build a system that is able to transit, so that even if you put a donkey or a cat to run America, a dog, the country will still continue to run, because it has all the necessary instruments, infrastructure, and governance systems that the American people want. The question is, do we have the same continuity in our African governments? I mean, you look at Kagame, people want development. Rwanda is progressing. You look at him, the rest of the world are now complaining he's a dictator, he's a murderer. Okay, you talk about corruption, Magufuli comes in, he flushes out corruption, and on the other end, no, he's anti-progress against the corona issue. So you will never have an African president who is good enough for the West. They will be glorifying you on one side. He's the best. When he walked into power, he was the best, flashing out and stamping out corruption. The only thing they did not want him to do is to have a character. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, but I also don't believe this. I also don't believe in this. It looks like in this modern leadership, you are not supposed to believe in anything. You are supposed to be listening to them, and they tell you what to do, how to do it. And when you stand up and say, this is what I believe, then you become an enemy of the same system. So we need this conversation to be continuously, progressively happening, so that our people can begin to see the reality and see exactly where we need to start implementing changes. For me, it's not about leading. It's not just about putting people in power. It is when you put them in power, do you have a reason why they are in power, and do they know what they are doing when they are in power?
King Maponga, there is a saying, honestly, that African leaders, I'm not going to call some names, those that have been there, they say they know they are citizens, they know they are people. They know that the same thing that is keeping them there, they themselves want it, like father, like son, or like mother, like daughter. They know us that as corrupt as they are, so are the citizens. That's why we even support them to stay there. What will you say to that?
When a fish is rotten on the head, the whole fish is rotten. And I saw Dr. Lumumba wrote something the other day. They say in Japan, when you are caught and you are corrupt, you commit suicide. You kill yourself. In China, we kill you. In Europe, we arrest you. But in Africa, we celebrate you and we run behind you and we appoint you to office. So we needed to start changing. We needed to start changing that narrative, that we don't reward corruption as a society, but begin to appreciate ethical leadership, truthful leadership that can actually have the passion of those African societal problems as their key deliverable, so that their presence in office becomes a solution for the people rather than a continuous problem for the poor. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The last question before we leave, this number one question of how can we bridge the gap between the young and the old, and the young lawyer who called from Kenya was actually like, yes, look at the situation like in Uganda. Now, which structures, I don't want to get into a political statement, or which structures should, I think, should the young people be orientated, the structures of the old kingdoms? What is the orientation?
I will not be able to speak on behalf of what many other people are doing, which I might not be very clear as to what they are doing. But here at Farmers of Thought, we have started an institution of training and development. I know Dr. Lumumba has got something that is happening. I know Arikana has got something that is happening. But as we are rightfully talking, I think also as leaders, we are messing up on lack of a concerted effort of unification, so that African children can find a common place where they can plug in. There, they can learn from Lumumba, legal issues. There, they can learn from Dr. Arikana, international relations and political conversations. They plug into me, they want to learn about African spirituality and etc. I'm not saying we're the best in the continent, but if we can gather together professionals in various fields and at the press of a button on a phone or create an app of some sort of African educational systems, something like that, where information is powerful. With poor information, you make poor decisions. With more and better information, you can make it can still be a stupid decision, but it must be a stupid informed decision. It's another thing to have a stupid decision and you are misinformed. But when you know what is right and you know what is wrong and you still choose right, then it has to do with your willpower. But I think that as we are going forward in the next few coming months, we should be able to see a concerted effort towards the people that you have on your think tank. I think that meeting we've been avoiding is now becoming more urgent, that we come together and we discuss how we can actually bridge this gap of information between the young people and the old people. And also the young people must come around and tell us, what do they want? The other day, another man walked up to his daughter at the age of 12 and say, yeah, I think you're old enough now. Sit down here. I want us to talk about sex. And the young child looks at them and says, what do you want to know about it? So we may want also to ask from the young people, what do you want to learn? It's not about us thinking we know what you want, but what do you want to learn? What do you want to know? And then that will inform the curriculum itself, so that we begin to address the issues that are pertinent to the aspirations and the desire of the young people to bridge that gap of information. And with those few words, I thank you very much for your patience, and my many gratitudes to your audience for being patient with us this long. I need to run for my next appointment, and we appreciate you and we love the work that you are doing. Stay with it and be blessed richly. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my king. Thank you too for taking out this time and even extending your time with us here. And we wish you another beautiful outing there as we stay connected. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye. Yes. Of course, like we all have heard, there is just nothing again to speak about. And it has been a wonderful session today. You have heard the sermon and you have noted. It is not about speaking. It's not about us just coming, posting comments. I heard, ask questions, and you don't take your homework. Now, the Magafulication week is actually an education week while we celebrate his legacy, while we mourn his departure, what is it that we should start learning? We didn't have that opportunity when the Sankaras left, when the Patrice Lumumba left, when Excellency Maragafi, I'm sorry, Muammar Gaddafi left. We didn't have all those. I mean, it was not in the time of Marcus Garvey. If we were not in the time even of Malcolm X, on all them, of Martin Luther King. Now we're reading those history. We were not in the times of Queen Zinga. We were not in the times of, all of these queens that we all know. Even in the times of the Amazons, we were not in the time. We learn every day. But what is it that you as an African can sit down, take your notebook, be you a parent, and go through and say, this is what I've been learning. I have a home, I have a family, I have a community, I have a group. Let us start focusing on this thing. Like King Bishop Maponga said, one thing that we noted on this session was teach one, teach the other. Create groups. Professor Pielo James Small said it, create groups, just small groups. Start in these mini groups. What is it that we learn and we carry forward? The Pan-African Daily TV and the whole entire team wants to thank you on this very intensive week that we'll be learning, and we'll be sharing our condolences to the people of and the government of Tanzania, but also to welcome the new queen that is sitting on that platform as a mother, as a queen. A lot of Africans say, oh, this is the third female president. We're talking about political presidents. A lot of queens, know your history, has been ruling Africa. They have defeated even the colonial masters. They have beaten slavery a lot in the diaspora and on the continent. Just know your history. They are not just the third, because we talk about Salif, Her Excellency Salif from Liberia. We're talking about the president of Ethiopia, and now the one of Tanzania. No, they're not just the three. It's just a continuity. We have a whole lot. If you know your history, you'll know that the queens are the one that beat out even the colonial masters, particularly in my country, Cameroon. How many Cameroonians knew that it was the women that stood up and defeated these armies? Even in Uganda, even in Ethiopia. Look at Queen Sheba. So it has been a long step. We are not starting. Know your history. Put down your notes. It's not just gathering here. Know that the 2 hours or 1 hour that we spend with you on the Pan-African Daily TV, it's more than just a media. It is education. It is unity. It is celebration. It is mourning. But it is building the one Africa, voices worldwide, that we've all been longing for. I thank you so very much for watching, for learning, for listening, for uniting. And we know that nothing would ever beat us. One goes down, the rest continue. And we don't die young. Our ancestors don't die young. They just came for that period delivered, but we were not paying attention. Until one goes, then we come together and like, oh, why? Until one goes, it's just like the rioting. They kill one in America or one black person, and we all go to the street. And 3 weeks, everybody's back in office and life goes on. It's the same thing we keep doing, and they know it. Now we're going to sit here for 1 week, talk about it, cry, oh, I've not slept, I've been broken. And 1 week, life goes on. We keep doing the same thing. When is it that we're going to start thinking, you know what, it can't go on like that. Enough is enough. When you ask the questions, what is it that we have to do? Start by asking, what is it that you are doing? What is it that I can do? How can I do it? So I want to thank you, and I leave you with this great words. And I thank Professor Pielo Lumumba for that tweet, exactly that Bishop Maponga just said right now. And I want to thank the team, the small but powerful team on the Pan-African Daily TV. This afternoon, we have been much grateful for Tumi Tata, who was on the panel. We've been much grateful for Patrick Kasarim, who has been managing the social media platforms. We have been more grateful for Ia that has been assisting, and for Naisha Melkan that has also been on the plans. And we are most also grateful and thanking us for me sitting here. Thank you so very much. Our hearts are with the people of Tanzania and Africans in general. Let us keep on the spirit. We don't need to talk unity. We just need to exercise unity. We don't need to talk love. We just need to show love. We don't need to talk about a one Africa. We just need to gather and begin to exist as one Africa. No single president will stand up one day and say, you know what, now you have your passport, come and collect it, and then now we're going to start functioning like one Africa. I don't see that happening. I see the spirit of a united Africa people that are watching me right now, and that is the one Africa. But what is it that we can do in the space to move our individual lives and our motherland continent in supporting the ones that are actually putting their lives even at a risk, even at dying, or whether it's poison or it's what. But I still remind you, stay away from stories. If your ancestors did not accept anything to happen, it would not happen. Stop giving humans the power that they can kill. A human has no power over human life. Even the one that shoots, the powers that be must have given that authority, and he knows why. So let us focus and put our energy on this time and this space when we are still alive, so that we can make a story continue when we are no longer. Today we're continuing with Excellency Magufuli. Tomorrow, what are you leaving so that we can continue? Are you here to divide or you're here to unite? That is the message, and we see us tomorrow, same time, on the Magulification Week for Africans worldwide. And once more, thank you for being here. Bye-bye. Should have done.